I'm not going to talk about how to do research. The main part of my talk would be how to use the diagnostic test in clinical practice. I do research, but I think there are better people than me, so I will restrict my talk how to use the clinical research in day-to-day practice. My teacher, Mulil and Ravi, Professor Mulil, I think is going to be there tomorrow. One of the fantastic teachers as far as the epidemiology clinical research is concerned. I am still here. What is evidence-based medicine? Now we talk about research. It is basically what we are interested is doing into a evidence-based practice. So integration of base research evidence with clinical expertise and patient value. All three are very important, which forms evidence-based clinical practice. The same thing, the importance of each varies depending upon what you are doing, but all three has to be integrated. You cannot ignore the patient value at the end of the day when you are doing practice. When you are doing only research, also the patient value is the most important thing. What I am going to talk about, there are two questions. How do I choose what investigations to order, and how to use diagnostic test in day-to-day practice. Now, because in 25 minutes I cannot finish both the talks in detail, I am going to restrict mainly to the day-to-day use of the diagnostic test. So basically sensitivity, specificity, positive, negative predictive value, and more important, likelihood ratio. So before that, I'll just very briefly, do we use the test because they have machines which are very sleek looking and nicely looking, or they give printout which is very colorful, very elegant, and you can impress patient that this is what your test looks like, but it does not give any information, or how it has been advertised. And this we should not follow any of this tactic. Why we use the test, we must know. And if you say that it is to make diagnosis, then it is very obvious. In fact, most of the tests are not to make the diagnosis as far as the ophthalmology is concerned, because most of the things you can see. So mainly my practice is glaucoma. I do not do automated perimetry. I do not require automated perimetry or HRT or GDX or OCT or any XYZ instrument to make diagnosis. When I see pressure of more than 22, 24, 25, if the optic disc is looking glaucomatous, then patient do definitely has either open angle or angle closure glaucoma, depends upon his gonioscopy finding. So tests are of course to confirm, but more important to judge the severity of the disease, is a long term, to predict the subsequent clinical course and prognosis of the disease, to estimate the likely responsiveness to therapy in certain cases, and determine the actual response. This is for follow-up when we do the test. So if I have started patient on anti-glaucoma treatment, I do yearly or 6 monthly perimetry, and the disease is not progressing on perimetry, then I can say my drug is working, and this is what the test is helping me out. And as Dr. Nitya was saying, when we do the test, why? Of course, for the individual patient, at the same time, we collect more and more data and critically appraise for that diagnostic test in your individual practice, for the larger when we publish for the entire group. Rare, please, there is no need, because we would not, individual person would not have that much of data. So if you try, of course, you can do case report and case summaries and few more case reports. But the rare disease, there is individual, there is no need to do a hard work, that we can leave our experts or bigger institute to do the research. Now, example I will give before I start. A patient, open angle, 24 pressure, 0.7, and these questions have been asked. Whenever I go and talk about imaging technology, at the end of the day, the person asks the questions, can I just do OCT to diagnose glaucoma? Can I just do HRT? Or which investigation or which machine I should buy? Should I buy HRT? Should I buy OCT? Should I buy GDX? Which will help me out, so I don't have to do a complete clinical examination. And I'll just give the why it is cannot replace, machine cannot replace. Before that, how test should be used? What are the parameters? When you read the case articles, what methodology author should I use, or what you should use? Independent blind comparison. This I don't have time, I'm just going to give 8 points. Evaluated in a sample, appropriate sample, as I will be talking about, and I will be talking about in next few slides. The sensitivity, specificity does not vary. the sensitivity of the test varies depending upon the spectrum of the disease you have chosen. So if I take only mild glaucoma and put patient all HRT, the sensitivity would be too high. But when I go to clinical practice, my majority of patients may have a moderate glaucoma. Sorry, I was wrong. If I took only advanced glaucoma, the sensitivity would be too high, it would be close to 100%. When I go to the real life, majority of my glaucoma may be early glaucoma, ocular hypertension, pre-perimetric glaucoma, where HRT would be, sensitivity would be very moderate or poor. So if I publish only advanced glaucoma, taking the disease population of advanced glaucoma and say HRT is a very good tool, which may not be the correct thing. So you have to see whether the author or individual person has taken appropriate spectrum. The third, how they have been evaluated. The methodology has to be described properly, and you have to follow, or you want to publish, you have to write down the methodology clearly, that what were the inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria, which patients you had excluded and why they were excluded. Reproducibility has to be done. Either usually what happens is when you do something HRT, GDX, already there is reproducibility done. But if there is a new investigation, the reproducibility has to be measured. The test has to be reproducible, or the precision has to be determined. Normal has to be defined properly. Whether it's part of cluster or sequence, how it has been done, how it is to be used has to be defined. How the test has been carried out has to be written so we can replicate, and utility of the test, whether it's determined by the author, what he wants to say in discussion has to be written. This is the parameters. We can go in detail, discuss about each point, but my main talk would be how to use the test in clinical practice, so I will not going to go about this. We will go into the next part and mainly talk about sensitivity, specificity, predictive values and likelihood ratio. And again I will be mainly talking about likelihood ratio because that is most important as far as the clinical practice is concerned. I hope and I assume most of the people must be knowing 2 by 2 table, because it has been discussed in research methodology talk and in most of the talks 2 by 2 table. So this is 2 by 2 table where the disease comes vertically, the test comes horizontally. So when the disease is positive and test is positive, is called true positive. Now unfortunately when we are doing the test first time, you don't know whether this is, because this is disease positive means already you know about the disease. But in real life that is not the case. So when we talk about real life, the predictive value and likelihood ratio is more important. But anyway, sensitivity has to be calculated. There has to be a gold standard. So like we talk about in glaucoma, automated perimetry is gold standard. Automated perimetry has lots of limitation. Is not very sensitive test, but we have to assume and we have to take certain test as a gold standard for the diagnosis. So at this point in time, glaucoma is automated perimetry. In future things may change and we may say something else is a gold standard, but currently is automated perimetry. So when we talk about, or you have to define, I can say that pressure more than 30 is glaucoma and I can publish. It's up to you to decide whether you agree with me or not, and of course most of the people will not agree if I use IOPS 30 as criteria, because you know IOP is not very specific test. But this is positive means positive on something, and this new test. When both are positive, it's called true positive. When the disease is there but test is missing out, is negative, it's called false negative. And sensitivity is determined true positive divided by true positive equals false negative. This is sensitivity. The specificity is when the test is negative and disease is negative, is true negative. That is specificity. And we want these to be the maximum and these to be maximum. And false positive when disease is negative and test is positive, that is false positive. So specificity means true negative divided by true negative plus false positive. The same prevalence I will not go again here, but basically it's A plus C divided by A plus B plus C plus D. Sensitivity, as I said, A divided by A plus C. Specificity D divided by B plus D. Is it clear? So it goes vertically down. Actually, sensitivity is this way, specificity is this way, because this is your specificity, normal. So you want test to pick up maximum disease and maximum normal, 100% ideally. Unfortunately, there is nothing 100% in life. So we go to next concept, predictive values. Positive predictive value, negative predictive value. Basically, if the test is positive, what are the chances that patient have disease? That is what your predictive value says. If the person is positive on a particular test, what is the probability that person actually has the disease we are testing for? So if I am doing checking intraocular pressure, if I am doing automated perimetry, and if the test is positive, with certain cutoff, for IOP we can have 21, 22 cutoff, for perimetry we can have certain criteria, that Anderson's criteria, whatever criteria. If that criteria is fulfilled, then what are the chances that patient actually has glaucoma? That is what probability test tells us. The same thing, but here it is A divided by A plus B. If the person test is positive, TP divided by TP plus false positive will tell you what are the chances that patient actually has a disease if the test is positive. And D divided by C plus D would tell you that what are the chances that if the test is negative, person actually is normal and not having disease. That is your problem. PPV and NPV tells us. How to use that, that is what we will discuss in next. So it is horizontal. Positive, negative. Now I will just give one example and we will in with the prevalence along with this probability test, because prevalence is most important thing when we talk about any test. When you go into population, the prevalence is very low. When you go to the general practice, prevalence is little bit high. When you go to a specialty practice, prevalence is very high, very high. Because let's see, if I am doing glaucoma practice, my 80% of patient population is either glaucoma suspect or glaucoma. So the test which I order would be a different interpretation or implication than when the same test is carried out in a general population or in a general ophthalmologist practice, and that is what we discuss. The sensitivity here is, what is the sensitivity? 90 divided by, so 90%. For specificity, 80%. The prevalence is 100 divided by 200, 50%. The predictive value here is 90 divided by 110, 81%. And negative predictive value is 80 divided by 90, 88.9%. Okay? Now let's go to a different scenario. So sensitivity and specificity remain same, but we have changed the prevalence, and now prevalence is 100 divided by 1000, that is 10%. Same sensitivity, same specificity, the positive predictive value has gone down from 81% to 33%, negative predictive value has increased little bit from 97% to 98%. Let's go to a third scenario, which is a real life scenario. If you go to a population, most of the disease would have prevalence around 1%, 2%. If you take glaucoma, it's around 3.5%, diabetic retinopathy 4%. None of the disease would have prevalence more than 4 or 5%. 1%, same test, same sensitivity, same specificity, the positive predictive value gone down to 4%. We are doing the same test, same population, the only thing is the prevalence has been changed. We have gone from 50%, which is unacceptably high, we don't get any disease with 50%, to a real life situation, 1%, the positive predictive value has gone down from 81% to 4%. What does it mean? That if the prevalence is low, if you put it other way around, the most of the test in the real life situation would have a very poor positive predictive value. So if you just imply any test in a population, the implication is that you will get more and more false positive. The true disease you pick up is very low. And the logistics cost factor we are not dealing at this point in time. So this is positive predictive value. As the prevalence increases, positive predictive value increases. So if you want to identify more and more disease, what we need to increase is prevalence. And how you can increase the prevalence is to do a test in a high risk group. If I have to do glaucoma screening, I am not talking about screening, I am not favoring screening, but if I have to do, then I will do glaucoma screening in more than 40 years old patient, people who have family history of glaucoma, people who have a certain other eye diseases, because even if it's false positive, we are picking up something. Like if the patient is diabetes, and if it is a false positive, you send the patient for the reference, the chances that patient may have diabetic retinopathy. So you do a high risk group, and you pick up the true positives is very high, and that is what we have to look for. At the same time, we are talking about that all the diseases are low prevalence. Why negative predictive value is not important in real life? Do you like to do a test to rule out the disease? I'm not talking about now clinically the disease which have high mortality, because there the implication is different. Being this my slide, because I talk most of the time to ophthalmologists, most of the talk is related to glaucoma and eye diseases, and there negative predictive value is not important, and why? Anybody?
Slow disease, chronic.
No, but why you don't want to do the test?
Prevalence is low.
So what is the implication if the prevalence is low? Let's see how much benefit you get. Cost is second thing.
Yeah, negative predictive value will be automatically higher. If,
So even without the test, if the prevalence is 3%, you are 97% sure that patient does not have disease. Can you go to 100%? Even with specificity of 90% and sensitivity of 90%, you can only go to 99%. So what benefit you are getting is from 97 to 99%, 2%. The whole effort for 2% is not worth it. The same thing, if the patient has something you are looking for the death, then everything is different. I'm not talking about that. For disease which can cause mortality, the whole discussion can go to a different level. But the principle remains same. You should know that the predictive value is only good when the prevalence is high. And if how to make prevalence high, that depends, because you cannot make disease more common in population. So you have to look for the population which is high risk for the particular disease. Okay, 97 to 99% is not worth the effort. If the prevalence is less than 1%, the predictive value, negative predictive value, will be again same, 97 to 99.5%, it can never be 100%. So basically two concepts when you know the sensitivity and specificity. A test which is highly specific, if it is positive, it rules in the disease. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Why?
Specificity means true positive.
So if the test is specific, that means it is picking up all the normals as normal.
Yeah.
And if that test is positive,
Then it means the
patient definitely is not normal. Because if the test is 99% specific and if it is positive, that means what by chance if you are picking up the wrongless disease is only 1%. So chances of him having disease is very high. So sensitivity is not important to diagnose disease. The high specificity, and if the test is positive, specificity positive rules in the disease. And sensitivity, if is very high, and if negative, it rules out the disease. So if the sensitivity is 95%, and if the test is normal, that means that test is more or less is ruling out the patient is having disease. If the patient is not having disease, most probably it is normal. So it's called SNOW. Sensitivity negative, rule out the disease. Now this is very broad spectrum because this is a various spectrum, mild, moderate, advanced, and it's possible that it may not be the same thing. So it's still possible that patient may not have disease and intermediate, because it's never like a disease is positive or negative. There is, especially when we talk about glaucoma, let's say if I am talking about optic disc, the disc can be normal, this can have congenital anomaly which looks like a disease, and there is normal. So it can be intermediate category where your test may be a positive and may not be a disease per se. But in general, if the specificity is high, then it rules in a disease if it is positive, and other way around for sensitivity. Now this is the criteria for the screening. We don't have much time. So as I was talking about this is my data for the FDP, and what we found that if the three tests are there in the 21 screening program, then the specificity is 99%. So if the patient has 3 points, then it has to have disease, because the 1% chance that by this machine is labeling 3 abnormal points. So this is glaucoma because of the 99% specificity. The same thing when we did the test for the FD for neuro-ophthalmology, what we found sensitivity was 95% for 2 points. So that 2 points is very highly, so if you are looking for neuro-ophthalmology, patient does not have less than 2 points, it's very likely that he is not having neuro-ophthalmology disease. This is a broad criteria, I am just giving the example. The limitation, as I was talking about, is by 2 by 2, and we are just grading patient having disease, not having disease, where most of the disease would have a various spectrum and you are missing out. The second thing, sensitivity varies for the each spectrum of the disease, and then you have to ideally calculate for the individual spectrum, or we should have to have each spectrum of the disease in enough number to calculate sensitivity specificity. If you don't have, then there is a problem about this sensitivity and specificity. But what we can do is to likelihood ratio. We use the same data in a different way, in a more dignified way, and not by just 2 by 2 table yes or no, but in a graded manner. We use each individual test along with all the tests, and we go one step higher by doing each test. So what is likelihood ratio is allow a given test result would be expected in a patient with a target disorder compared to likelihood that the same result would be expected in a patient without target disorder. Likelihood ratio definition, not important. This is how you calculate sensitivity minus 1 divided by 1 minus specificity. Likelihood ratio. This is just the one part of doing the whole spectrum I was talking about. You use the prevalence of the disease, likelihood ratio, pre-test probability, and go to post-test probability. And I will give that, I will go in detail about that. The pre-test probability is nothing but the prevalence of the disease. If the patient has come to you, 45-year-old patient, what are the chances patient has glaucoma? The prevalence of glaucoma in that particular population. Let's put it 2% in Indian population, then without even seeing that patient, you know the 2% chance that patient has glaucoma. And this is your pre-test probability without even seeing the patient. From that pre-test probability, you calculate pre-test odd. Pre-test probability divided by 1 minus pre-test probability is pre-test odd. You use that pre-test odd, multiply by likelihood ratio of whatever test you are doing, you get post-test odd. From post-test odd, you divide post-test odd into 1 plus post-test odd, you get post-test probability. So individual test, you go from pre-test probability to post-test probability of having disease. And I will give one example for glaucoma. 45-year-old patient, 24 pressure, 0.7 cup, inferior thinning, weight shape, NFL loss, perimetry normal, and then I have done GDX test. Now how to use that, all the information together. We have sensitivity specificity from the literature, either you have published or somebody else has published. You calculate likelihood ratio using 6 for IOP, optic is 16 from the criteria I have described just now, and GDX 55. Okay. Now, if you use individually, this sensitivity specificity does not give much information. But if you use along with all the tests, then you have pre-test probability. I use my own data from Vellore, and we are going to the pre-test order 0.05. You multiply by IOP, likelihood ratio is 6.25, what you get is 0.24. That means if the IOP is 24, in the population where the prevalence is 2%, the chances that patient has glaucoma is 25%. Is it good enough to treat? Yes or no? No. Use optic disc criteria. You reach 0.84. So IOP is more than 21 and optic is as described. Now the post-test probability is 84%. Is it good enough? It is good enough. And I will describe it, I will go discuss about at the end of my talk, the last slide. But let's say I want to be sure more than 90%, then I have done GDX. Here I have not used automated perimetry is normal. Actually you can use that test also the normal results to reduce the post-test probability, but we will not go in detail, it will become a little complicated. And here after using GDS is 0.997, that means 99% sure. So each test you have used along with the other clinical tests. When you do sensitivity, specificity or predictive value, use only one test and say whether the patient is test positive, test negative, patient is disease, not disease. But when you use likelihood ratio, you are using all the clinical examination you have done and simultaneously all the tests one by one you reach to a diagnosis that what is the probability that patient has disease or not disease. And there are graph nomograms which can tell you directly using the likelihood ratio. There are you can do in one step using all the likelihood ratio multiplied, and you can come to the post-test probability. You don't have to do step by step. And likelihood ratio, there are lots of articles. I had written likelihood ratio article in IGO 2009, which is me and Ravi Thomas. It's very simple and nicely written. Negative likelihood ratio, I am not going in detail. I'll just go to implication. You don't require this approach in every patient. I am not saying that start calculating sensitive specificity of each test from tomorrow and start calculating likelihood ratio for each patient you see. If you have a patient where 0.95 bipolar nose pressure is 39 and this optic D is, there is no need to calculate anything. There is no need to do a perimetry. If the angle is open, then this is primary open angle glaucoma advanced. This patient requires pressure in low teens. There is no other alternative. If the medicine doesn't work, he requires surgery. For this patient, no, he does not require. If the disc is absolutely healthy, then you don't have to do anything. The test is required when there is a gray area, when you are not very sure. Pressure is 21, normal perimetry, you have a thinning, there is a V shape, most probably it is glaucomatous, but you want to treat or you want to follow it up. Then in those scenarios, you do a test and you do a post-test probability and see what is the probability of patient having disease. In an area where you are not very sure of having disease or not having disease, that is the why not imaging technology. Every test is helpful only in those scenarios. So on a scale of threshold 0 to, let's say 0.0 to 1, if you are 0.25 or 25%, less than 25%, that is more or less, if your threshold for diagnosis or suspicion is less than 25%, do not test, because especially for the chronic diseases, because it will not help you. On the other hand, if you are more than 85% sure that patient has disease, patient does not require any testing for the diagnosis. Of course, patient may require test for the follow-up, is a different issue, but you can start treating the patient for whatever disease you are looking for. In between is that gray area where the imaging or any other testing will help you to either go in the right side for the diagnosis or left side, treatment, or left side for the follow-up. Here, test and treat on the basis of test result. This is where is most important. You can cross the threshold on the right side or left side. Will you advise OCT for this patient? Juvenile glaucoma, operated twice, pressure is 50. I thought everybody would say loudly no. No. All my information is from SACET and paper that report diagnostic or screening test from BMJ 1997. Thank you.
Last time I used mobile phone. Maybe anything you want to add? Arjun Ahuja, Professor India from KM.
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you.